we have a mix of our agents in our fast action office and our global mastermind group. We are very thankful for you to have decided, because I think this is kind of the market we're getting into. So we're very thankful to have you on board and kind of give us a couple of tips on foreclosure, short sales, things like that. I actually do have my designation with you with the CDPE. So
Hmm.
I think it's very informative, and the emails that you send and things like that. So welcome, Tony. And if you want to tell us a little bit about your background and all your experience, that'd be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Well, listen, thank you so much for the opportunity, Yaneli. I'm always excited anytime I get a chance to speak with like-minded individuals and maybe open up some eyes to some opportunities that are out there. This little presentation, I kind of titled it "Listing Distressed Pre-Foreclosure Properties." And I know a lot of your folks some of you folks, or a lot of are REO agents, correct? Yeah. So what happens is the REO market has been very, very slow, as all of you know, for like several years now. It's starting to pick up. But here's what I did. I went ahead and I pulled some numbers for you. Let me go ahead and do a quick introduction. And if you see my eyes glancing away, it's because I also have to admit folks that are coming in. So I'll be kind of doing double duty. But my name is Tony Martinez. I wear several hats. First thing I like to say is that I'm one of you because I am a licensed real estate broker in the great state of Florida. My wife and I have had our own office now for 10 years. We're an independent. We have 5 offices and about 240 agents. So we know what's going on out there, and we know what challenges everyone is facing on a day-to-day basis. About 2.5 years ago, I acquired the CDPE course and designation. If you were licensed in 2008, 9, and 10, there is a high probability that you were either a CDPE or you heard about it, because it became the most dominant course designation surrounding distressed properties, primarily short sales. I started with them toward the end of 2008. 2009, I taught my first class. And from there, I was on the road for 2.5 years. Every week, I was someplace else. I taught easily maybe 15,000 to 20,000 agents. In fact, we grew so quickly that we needed other trainers, and then I was given the responsibility of training the trainers. Well, I got burned out. As anybody that's ever traveled a lot, I got burned out. And in 2011, I says, I'm done. And I had an opportunity to start my own office, and that's the direction I went. But I never lost the passion for teaching about distressed properties and short sales. And I did keep teaching a little bit, but let's face it, our market got really, really, really hot and good. And short sales and distressed properties kind of fell by the wayside. All right. Well, a lot of folks don't know this, or they're finding out, very recently, that the CDPE actually closed down in 2020. Yeah, it closed down in 2020, and then COVID hit in 2020. I saw the writing on the wall, and I says, you know what, we're going to need this again. And that's what I decided to do, was go back to teaching. And then it dawned on me, why not buy the most recognizable name in the short sale distressed property arena? And that's what I did. I bought it in May of 2021. And then by June of 2021, we were relaunched, and away we went. And we started bringing back a lot of who we call the OGs. OGs are the old guard or original gangsters. These are the folks that were CDPs going back as early as 2008. And from there, I've been training the new generation of CDPEs. Now, it hasn't been easy because a lot of agents still do not believe that there's a need for this. And I've been ridiculed and I've been insulted, and a lot of people just don't get it. But you know what? I'm getting less and less pushback now, because the way the market has been shifting, more and more agents are paying attention. And I hope that if you were one of these agents that was on the fence, I can get you to start looking at the business like I do. I see pre-foreclosures as the low-hanging fruit. See, everybody wants listings. That's what we all want. That's what we all crave. That's what most of us don't have. But everyone is trying to climb that tall tree where the sweetest fruit is at the very, very top, and you're up against a lot of competition trying to get to it. And in the meantime, distressed properties are low-hanging fruit, some of them are falling off the tree, and then agents are just like walking past it. Like, okay, no, they don't get it. And I'm here screaming like John the Baptist in the wilderness saying, what's wrong with you people? Don't you see what the opportunities here lie? It's amazing. And now, because the inventory has dried up so significantly, people are looking for, well, where can you find listings? And I'm like, pay attention, go after these properties before they are foreclosed. Now, I'm going to share some stats with you, and I would love for you to write these down. This is being recorded and being sent to you anyway, but I would like to kind of get you an idea of how the numbers have started to climb so that even the media is talking about it now. Before, we couldn't get any press at all on the foreclosure issue, and now more and more of the publications are taking note that something is going on. Before I get into some numbers, let me share with you what's been happening in the world of foreclosures since 2008. Now, if you look at 9 and 10, those were the biggest years for foreclosure activity. If you were licensed during that time, if you were doing REOs during that time, you were probably exceptionally busy. And then you saw that the market started improving and the number of foreclosures started going down significantly. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. Number one is foreclosures never went away. And I will hear ignorant comments like that. Well, there are no foreclosures. Now, imagine me talking to a fellow broker who I respect and I believe is a very, very smart individual saying something like, well, there are no foreclosures. That's silly, right? And I'm being kind by saying silly. There always have been, there always will be foreclosures. Now, what we did see is a moratorium imposed by state and federal government that said you can't foreclose on people. And even then, foreclosures still happened during that time. But look what happened during the time of COVID. The numbers took a major hit, right? And foreclosures were way, way down. Now, pay attention to this. 2023, first half of 2023, we've already exceeded all of 2022 and all of 2021, and we already exceeded all of 2020, and we're knocking on the door, and we will exceed 2019. Foreclosures this year will go back to pre-pandemic numbers, and I believe it's just going to get higher from there. Now, if we had more time, I go into a lot of reasons why I believe it's going to get worse, but let me just touch on two or three. This time around, it won't be driven by subprime loans like it was in 2008. This will be driven by unemployment. What's going to happen is I personally have no doubts, and I'm not an economist, and a whole lot of people smarter than me have been wrong. We've been predicting a serious recession for many, many months now, but the American consumer refuses to stop spending money, and they have kept everything flowing. But now, if you follow the stats like I do, you see that the American consumer is maxed out. We have a little over $1 trillion in credit card debt right now. We have almost $20 trillion in consumer debt right now. Consumers have burned through all of their COVID cash, all of their savings, and they're just about at zero when it comes to their savings. You have 63% of Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck. About 25% of Americans making $150,000 a year or more are living paycheck to paycheck. Only about 40% of Americans have $1,000 sitting in their savings account to handle an emergency that could come up. You see where I'm going with this? And when you see all of the other factors that are at work, and if you do look at the numbers like I do, you will see that layoffs are beginning to happen. More and more are being announced. And I believe we're going to see a significant rise in that. So you may agree, you may not, but here's what I normally hear, right? Why? We can't have foreclosures. There's so much equity. And that's why I came up with this meme. having equity and being able to make your payments are two separate issues. You would have to agree, right? I mean, there's people right now sitting on $100,000 or $200,000 in equity, but if they're unemployed, the minute you miss one single payment, you're not going to get a home improvement loan. You're not going to get a home equity loan. Forget that. So what does it matter? And you have people that are already tapping that equity. See, people tell me all the time, we're an equity rich nation. And I go, are you counting all of the times that people have already pulled cash out of their houses? Because when interest rates were very low, people refinanced once or twice or three times. Are you including all of the money that was put on the back of a loan when people did forbearance agreements? You know that, right? So during COVID, 8.5 million mortgages went into forbearance. What percentage of those people aren't aware that they're going to have to pay that money back at some point? So when you put all this together, I think it's going to get ugly. It's going to get real ugly. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right and you're not ready, not a good thing, right? So here's some numbers to go ahead and keep you talking about. I'm going to move this box out of the way here. All right, so for September of last month, and by the way, I get all my data from adamdata.com. So here's what we have as far as foreclosure filings, up 11% from a month ago and up 18% from the same time last year. So it's not my opinion. These are facts. I go to adamdata.com almost every day, but usually around the 9th, 10th, 11th or 12th of the month is when the latest stats come out. And that's when I usually try to schedule all of my updates so that I can have up-to-date numbers for them. Now, as far as Q3, this is the number that has people worried. And this is the number that I'm seeing the article mention in a lot of the publications, is that we had a huge spike in the third quarter of this year, up 28% versus the previous quarter and up 34% against a year before. Now people are standing up and taking notice and saying, wait a minute, that's quite a bit. Now, in terms of what states have the most foreclosures, there's a list right there. Now, this varies from month to month. You know, my home state of Florida is kind of like a tale of two cities because we have an exceptionally hot market, but at the same time, we're usually in the top 10 of foreclosures in the United States. But these are the top 5 states. And this is where I'm getting the most people reaching out to me on a daily basis. Now, California is up there, Texas is up there, New Jersey, New York, all of these are there. It's just that there's slight variations from one month to the other. Okay, this is an August number, but you saw that when it comes to Las Vegas, Cleveland, Riverside, California, Jacksonville, and Chicago were the top ones. Now, let's talk REOs because a lot of you are REO agents, and here's where I'm at. I'm very honest. You know, it's my blessing and my curse, and people will often confuse what I teach with REOs. I get people all the time that says, "Well, are you going to teach me about REOs?" I go, "No. My goal, don't get me wrong, is to have as few REOs as possible, because I think all of you would agree with this: is that when a homeowner loses their home and the bank takes it back, there are some very serious repercussions. And I'll show you in a second to that homeowner. I'm trying to avoid it ever going to REO by getting an army of agents to approach homeowners that are behind on their payments, that are in foreclosure, but have not yet lost the home. See, they have the authority to list with you. They have the authority to list with whomever they want, and they can sell that property. And you know what's really amazing? That a significant number of these individuals have equity. This is one of the biggest difference between now and 2008, 9, and 10. Back then, 70, 80% of all distressed properties were underwater. You had to know how to do a short sale. But because people still have some equity, while they have equity, they can just sell it as a regular sale. Yeah, usually there's some urgency because there's usually a sale date, so you have to know what you're doing. But here's what I'm proposing to you. Unless you are really, really hooked up with a servicer, you're standing in line waiting for an REO to be assigned to you. And look at how the REOs were done in third quarter. California, the entire state had 1,277. And Ohio, in fifth place, had 635. How many REO agents do you think are in each of these states waiting for a servicer to hand out these crumbs? And here's what I'm thinking. You right now could pull up a list of foreclosures in your market and immediately start going after them. And you're probably going to have very little competition because, as I mentioned, the majority of real estate agents either don't know about this market or too scared to engage it because they don't know what they're doing. So here's what I do. I teach this. I teach agents how to engage distressed homeowners. I teach them A to Z about the whole process. You know, I got 23 modules. One of them is called foreclosure consequences. You know why this is important? Because if you don't know how to bring this up the right way, you might not be able to persuade a distressed homeowner to take some action. And believe it or not, they need to be persuaded in many cases because they're emotionally overwhelmed. But this is very devastating to a homeowner. The credit is trashed. The foreclosure stays on a credit report for up to 7 years. It prevents them from getting a standard loan for 5 to 7 years, conventional. But you know what? If we could do a short sale for them, we can probably get them financed again in 2 to 3 years. Now it's on their record. They're going to have to always disclose this. It could be 15 years in the future. And when they go fill out a 1003 for a new loan, it's going to ask you, have you ever had a foreclosure or deed in lieu? And they're going to have to answer yes, or they're falsifying the information. And credit takes a huge hit. And that means they're going to pay much more for everything because their credit might take 200-point hit, 250-point hit. That's just one thing. What about the fact that it might cost them the opportunity to get employed? Maybe they are employed and they get fired because they have a foreclosure on their record. You know that there are certain jobs out there you cannot get if you have a foreclosure or bankruptcy on your record. If you have a security clearance, you might lose it. Once again, you might lose the job that you preciously need, or you might not get the job you've always wanted. Now, some states, many states, allow the lenders to go after a borrower, a former homeowner, after the foreclosure. They allow them to sue the homeowner to recover the money that was lost. That hurts. Now, here's what a lot of people don't know. When it's a short sale, we usually have a high success rate of getting the servicers to waive the right to go after them. You can't do that in a foreclosure. There's no one advocating for that homeowner in a foreclosure, but in a short sale, there is a negotiator that can do that. Then there's tax liabilities on forgiven debt. That's another issue. So these are the things you need to be aware of. These are the things that maybe some of you know, but maybe haven't thought about. Let me throw in a little bit more content because short sales is a big part of what we teach. About 5% of mortgages are underwater right now, only 5%. But let me tell you something, folks, that number is going to explode in 2024. And I know what you're thinking, oh, but there's so much equity. All right. I'm not talking about the person that's been sitting in their home for 10 years. I want you to think about the people that bought a home in the last 2 to 3 years. People that have bought homes at the height of the market, maybe paid above appraised price for their home, maybe put less than 5% down or very little down. Think about this. If they only put 5% down, there's a good possibility that they're already borderline, if not underwater. And that's before you factor in missed payments. And we're already seeing decreases in prices, folks. That's already happening in a lot of the markets out there now. Now, factor in all of the other situations that I mentioned, losing employment, all these things like that. This number is going to grow. So you need to know about short sales. And here's the short version, pardon the pun. There's 3 major qualifications for a short sale. Now, I'll give you a little Christmas present early, okay? Don't even discuss short sales with somebody unless they're underwater, because I've seen agents make that mistake. Just because they're in foreclosure doesn't mean that they're underwater. That is something you need to establish early on. But don't even think about, oh, well, let me take it back. You're going to run into some issues trying to get a bank to say yes to losing money if there's no hardship. In other words, something bad has had to happen to these folks or will happen to these folks. They have to show proof that every month they spend more than they take in. That requires cooperation and full disclosure from them. And guess what? If they're sitting on buku money, why aren't they using those savings to pay down their mortgage or get caught up? So you have to find out how their asset situation is. And I always tell people, look, if they have IRAs and 401ks, the good news is that the banks cannot seize those, but the banks can certainly factor that into their decision making. Because if somebody's sitting on a lot of money in a 401k and they're still relatively young, the bank could argue, well, pay us. You still have all these earning years ahead of you, pay us. So they may even ask for what is called as contribution. Now, my sales pitch is this. And I know I went kind of fast because I have to work within the time allotted. But if this is an area that you're starting to get some interest in, okay, there is a tremendous opportunity to grow your business at the same time helping people. You know, one of the phrases that I coined all the way back in 2009 was, you know, you can make money or you can make a difference. And as a CDPE, we get to do both. Because it is very satisfying to help a homeowner avoid the devastating consequences of foreclosure. And if you've ever done an REO and you've ever been there to evict those individuals, you probably had that sick feeling in your stomach because so many REO agents have told me that. And they say, I never want to do that again. Yes, these homeowners are losing their home, but write this down. They're exiting with dignity. You are helping them to exit with dignity. So I'm going to invite you guys to make an investment in your career. You need to become a CDPE. It stands for Certified Distressed Property Expert. We are a private designation. I have no affiliation with NAR, but there is absolutely no course in the market that comes even remotely close to the caliber and the content of the CDPE. Hands down, this is the #1 class if you want to get into distressed properties and short sales. I like to believe that the more you learn, the more you earn. And we are proud to be in the REMAX system. In other words, the REMAX University has approved us. And they did a survey of their agents. And they said, are you making money or more money because you have designations? And guess where the CDP came in? #3, at an average of $194,000 a year. I can't guarantee this, but if you take what I teach you and you implement it, you stand an excellent chance of increasing your income. The #1 way that people take my class is the online on-demand version. Why? Because it's 24/7. They can jump on it immediately. They can knock it out in 6.5 hours, or they can spread it out, whatever you want to do. Do it from your home, do it from your office. That's between you and the course. So that's one way. Now, I personally teach every single one of these modules. So you can tell, I know what I'm talking about. I have the passion and I have the energy to keep you awake during the presentation. So there it is, laid out for you, 23 modules. People ask me all the time, can I ever attend a live class? Well, next year, we should have quite a bit more. Remember, people are now just waking up to this. Now, if you are in an office somewhere in the country and you're a broker owner or you're an influencer or you know the board or something like that, connect with them, talk to us. We might be able to bring one of our speakers into your area. You can reach us through support@cdpe.com. Support@cdpe.com. I think the best happy medium for you is to take my Zoom-based class. Because here's the deal. There's very unlikely I'm going to get to do a live class in your area. Let's face it, right? And a lot of people say, Tony, I want you personally to teach it. Well, I'm not going. The chances of me wanting to get on a plane and go to a lot of different places, I'm done with that. Now, the online is great because you get to access it, but you don't get to ask questions. The Zoom-based version, you get the best of both worlds. And my next Zoom-based version is coming up December 5th and 6th. So I'm going to make you guys a special offer. I'm going to give you special pricing in a second. And I'm also going to give you a 2-for-1. You know what the 2-for-1 is? If you're thinking, man, December 5th, that's a long ways off. It's all good. You sign up for this, I'm going to give you access to my online one at no additional cost right away. And then you can still jump on the 5th and 6th one coming up. You may have graduated already. That's okay. You'll be able to sit in on that one as well. I think that's a killer offer because now you don't have to wait until December, but you will be able to take both classes in a 2-for-1 scenario. I sell this every day for $4.99. It includes the first year's membership. It's only $99 a year after that to stay a CDPE. If you don't pay the $99, you're no longer a CDPE. There's a list of benefits that come with it. The number one thing is the use of our logo, the use of the name, but it's our forms. You know, I think the number one reason why people join us is our forms because they're awesome. They're there to protect you, your broker, the seller. But there's other things. We have a CDP to CDP network. We have other presentation and scripts that are available. Here's how you may create referrals with other CDPs across the country by being a part of this. Anyway, $3.99 is your guys' special price for allowing me to, take up some of your time today. So here's where you go. You go to cdpe.com, cdpe.com. And then when you get to the cart, make sure you put in the coupon code area, Zoom 100, no space, Zoom 100. And then put a little note on there that says, I'm part of the global group. And that'll tell my admin that we're to give you both the online right away and register you for the Zoom one starting in December. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop the sharing here. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any and all questions you guys have. If you have a question, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Tony, for the presentation. I'm from Southern California. I'm actually part of the old guard.
Oh, right.
Designation. And
have you come back? Have you come back since I bought it?
I've been getting a couple of emails about coming back, and when I try to click on those links, somehow it's not working for me or where I'm supposed to go. So I wanted to ask you about that.
All right, brother, we can take care of you. Just do me a favor. Send an email to support@cdpe.com, support@cdpe.com, and Jeanette or Catherine will hook you up right away, brother.
All right, sounds great.
Now, here's what I do for OGs. If you're an OG and we verified a course, you get to come back for just the $99 a year. You don't have to take the course. If you do, we give you a break on it, but it's not mandatory. And the CDPs, the old guard really like that. So we can get you back in the system as early as today for the $99 per year.
Okay, and just one more time, it's support@cdpe.com, correct?
Absolutely. And I put in the chat area here as well.
Okay, great. Tony, thanks again.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, and we have a question from Judy. It says, for clients who have equity in pre-foreclosure, what is your best approach?
Great question. They may not know that they even have equity. And this is why it's so critical that you reach out to them first. Let me give you an example. I had a CDP came up to me and says, I just helped somebody avoid foreclosure. They were approached by a scammer that was offering them $10,000 to sign the deed over to them. $10,000. Now, when you are losing your home and the world's coming down on you, that $10,000 could be very, very tempting. She got to him just in time. They sold the house. The guy walked out with $80,000 in equity. So the first thing you have to do is go to them and say, foreclosure is not the only option. Foreclosure is not the only option. Let me look at your situation. And if they have equity, God bless them. And if they don't, then you can still help them with a short sale. But I'm going to give you another Christmas present. Let me tell you about a mistake agents are making all over the country. If you take a listing today, tomorrow, the day after, and you ask the homeowner how much you owe, how many loans you have, there's a very good chance they're going to get it wrong. All right. Have your title company do a prelim every time you take a listing, because people are finding loans that they didn't know existed or totally forgot about them. They took a forbearance a couple of years ago. They did a modification 5 or 6 years ago. They have home equity lines and all these things that they totally forgot about. There are agents right now that are advertising listings in the MLS as though they were a regular listing, and they find out days from closing that they're underwater or that they have a lot less equity than before. Don't make that mistake. Make it a process all the time. Can a title agent be certified? Absolutely, because now you're able to talk with the agents. One of the things I teach, and this is very important, when you work short sales and pre-foreclosures, you have to work with a short sale friendly title company. There are title companies out there that have no clue what they're doing when it comes to a short sale. That's not who you want to work with. So yes, I encourage you. And look, that might be a great thing for you to bring the agents into your market. You know, I haven't taught the CDP in the Naples market yet, or on the Southwest. We should do one. Anyway, I don't want to monopolize your class because I know you're going to be talking about other things. I just hope I brought some value to you. You know how you can reach us, support@cdp.com. Go to the website, cdp.com. Don't be afraid to write us. But the last thing I'll leave you with is we're more than just a membership. We're a community. We really are like-minded. We are people that want to help people avoid foreclosure. Most of our members are not thinking about the money. Money is important. We all need it. But they truly, truly want to help people during this time. A lot of the CDPs were themselves distressed homeowners back in the day, so they know what these folks are going through. But either way, I'm glad I've had the opportunity. Yaneli, God bless you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. You know, I'm in your
Thank you for being on board. Yes.
Whatever I can do in the future to help you all, you let me know, okay?
All right. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. I think I already know most of you on here. I actually do have my CDPE designation. I've had it, I think, since it came back. They do give a lot for their money. So, and it's not a sales pitch. I don't get any money out of it. It's just, I think this is the market that we're going to get into. And last month I saw from NAR that we were up like 17% in foreclosures from the month before. So I thought that's where I got the idea. I'm like, maybe we should have something like this on our mastermind to kind of get us all prepared and ready. But they do constantly put out like webinars. They included in your fee. There's no additional fee or anything for that. There's a Facebook group page that one of the hardest things in the past for me has always been getting those foreclosure listings, right? So if you're trying to get them before they go into foreclosure, great. If you can help a homeowner get the short sale and also, help them walk away with some cash, that's great. But if you can't get there in time, well, then the next thing is the foreclosure process and how you get those listings. And I've done foreclosures. I've done listings for Fannie Mae. I know how to do it. It's changed throughout the lifetime of the course. It's not for everyone. It's a lot of work. They pay less commission. But once you do a good job for a management company or for a lender, they're loyal. They will continue to send you their business. So that's the good thing. Plus, your name is out there, you're marketing, and hopefully you can also get the buyer. But if you're thinking about it, if you have any questions about this, let me know. I'll be more than willing to show you guys the way and show you, what's going on. Florida wasn't even up there, and we're in Florida. So Florida is still kind of booming, but still we are decreasing in prices as well, depending on the area that we're in. So I don't know what's gonna happen. All right, guys, so we're gonna jump off the call. Hopefully everyone can be on our next month and our technical difficulties will get better as we go. Thank you so much. Have a great month and hopefully you can sell.